All right, today on The Explainer, we are diving deep into a company called King's Infra Ventures. And let me tell you, they're an aquaculture company making some seriously big waves with ambitions that are, frankly, even bigger. So when I say big ambitions, just how big are we talking about? Well, get this. The company is targeting a 65%, that's 6-5, compound annual growth rate in revenue. And not just for 1 year, but for the next 3 years straight. I mean, that's not just ambitious, right? That is absolutely aiming for the moon. So how on earth are they planning to pull this off? Okay, so first things first, let's get a handle on who we're even talking about here. What exactly is King's Infra Ventures? Well, at its core, this is a company that wants to control its product from, the very start to the very finish. They're not just farming fish and shrimp. Nope, they're also processing it. They're trading it internationally, and they're even selling it directly to us through retail. You can kind of think of it like a farm-to-table model, but we're talking about seafood on a massive global scale. Okay, let's get back to that incredible growth plan. You don't just pull a number like 65% a year out of thin air. That requires a really detailed, multi-pronged strategy to even have a shot. And a strategy like that needs some serious cash behind it. A huge piece of this puzzle is a planned 170 crore rupee investment. They're pouring that into a new, super high-tech facility they're calling the Meritech Eco Park. And listen, this isn't just about building a bigger farm. It's about making a huge technological leap forward. So their whole strategy really rests on 5 key pillars. You've got the basics, like scaling up their shrimp farming and exports, but then they're also launching new retail brands called Frigo and Bento. They're innovating with tech-heavy indoor aquaculture and, get this, they're even going to make money from their own real estate. It is a really diversified approach, to say the least. So, what does all this actually mean for, the amount of seafood they produce? Well, the plan is to more than double their production capacity in just 3 years. They're looking to jump from 2,000 metric tons all the way up to a target of 5,500. That is just a massive, massive leap in scale. And how do you even attempt a leap like that? Well, for them, it all comes down to technology. They're using AI-enabled systems to boost their production cycles from just 2 a year to 5. That's a huge deal. They've also got a digital platform, Blue Tech OS, for monitoring and traceability, and they're developing their own brand of antibiotic-free products called AquaKing. So tech is really at the heart of this. And the funding. Where's all the money for this growth coming from? Well, part of the answer is pretty clever. The company expects to generate 150 crore rupees over the next 3 years just by strategically selling off some prime land they already own. This gives them a big injection of cash to fuel the expansion without having to, dilute their ownership. Okay, but you know how it goes. With any story of explosive growth like this, there are always potential hazards lurking just beneath the surface. So now we've got to look at the other side of the coin, the risks and the financial red flags that come with this kind of, this tidal wave of ambition. And this really is the crucial question, isn't it? Can they actually manage this kind of explosive growth? I mean, targeting it is one thing, but successfully pulling it off without hitting major roadblocks, that is a whole other challenge. And when you start digging into their financials, a few potential concerns pop up. First, their debtor days are pretty high at 108. Now, what that means is it's taking them a really long time to actually get paid by their customers. On top of that, they've had negative operating cash flow for 2 fiscal years in a row, and the total amount of money people owe them is shooting up fast. And just to put a really fine point on that last one, in just 2.5 years, their trade receivables, which is just a fancy term for money they're waiting to collect, have absolutely ballooned. We're talking from 6.6 crore all the way up to over 40 crore rupees. Wow, that is a lot of cash tied up, not in their bank account. Okay, so you've got these financial pressures, you've got a pretty volatile global market. So how is the company adopting? Well,
This brings us to a really interesting strategic pivot they've made when it comes to international trade.
You see, their whole plan for the US market has been, well, it's been a journey. Back in late 2023, they were all set to start exporting to the US. But then, pretty quickly, they slammed on the brakes and postponed the whole thing, citing risks. And then, when these new US tariffs were announced, they came out with a very, very confident statement.
Yeah, I mean, management put it about as bluntly as you can. They said, and I quote, that the new 25% US tariffs would have zero impact on their business. So why? How could that be? Well, because they'd already decided that they weren't going to rely on the US market in the first place.
And this is the crucial point right here. It's this strategic pivot. While they've basically put the US market on the back burner, they're reporting a surge in orders from China and Europe. They're actually looking at the whole US tariff situation as a golden opportunity to grab market share somewhere else. It's a classic case of trying to turn a potential threat into a strategic advantage.
All right, so we've looked at the massive growth plans, the tech behind it, the pretty serious financial risks, and their clever strategic pivots. Let's try and pull this all together now for the final catch.
Ultimately, the whole story of King's Infra really boils down to two completely different narratives, right? You've got the bull case and the bear case. The bull case is all about that explosive 65% growth target, their tech-driven approach, and their smart expansion into Europe and China. But the bear case, well, it focuses on the high debtor days, the negative cash flow, and just the huge execution risk of trying to grow that much that fast. And so that leaves us right here with the big question. Is King's Infra a future industry giant in the making, powered by all this tech and ambition? Or is it just a super risky bet, swimming against a financial current that might just be too strong to overcome? That, my friends, is the billion-rupee question.